What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the MMB Performance Podcast. Today, for the third time, I have CBJ, Christian Brown Johnson, not
Yes.
Thompson. Messed that up yesterday already. So CBJ's in the building, third time on. So if you don't know him, been competing in endurance sports for a long time. I met him specifically because of World Toughest Mudder, crushing 100-mile races, been doing it since his early 20s. And when it comes to endurance sports, he's been doing it a long time at a high level. And I'm excited to have him back on to talk specifically about Worlds, but we'll go into a bunch of other stuff and just the excitement officially 44 days out from World's Toughest Mudder. And after seeing your post on Instagram yesterday, got me hyped up. So I was like, we got to get on like sooner than later. So welcome back on, man. I'm excited to chat with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. And that's quite an intro there. You're
You know,
making me feel special over here, man.
well, you are special. You're a savage, bro. I was just
I
talking, dude. Here's the funny thing. I was literally having this conversation at school today. So you came up in my class today, so you should feel special, right?
oh
So I was
man.
talking about like mindset stuff with the students, and they're like half asleep at 8 a.m. just falling. But I was just talking about when it comes to personal training, you have to be resilient. You have to overcome like sales. You have to overcome all these things, clients leaving, clients coming back, and just the industry being very tough. And I was like, I think through physical exercise and fitness is why I do these races. You have to learn resilience. And I think that helps you in your career. And I was saying how like there's always going to be the ones that are, elite, and there's going to be the ones that don't make it. And I was just like off topic, funny story. Like I consider myself a decent athlete and a decent endurance athlete, specifically OCR. And I was like, it's funny. I came in 76th of 753 people, top 10%, not too bad. I did 60 miles. Then you got my friend, Mr. CBJ, who put up 100 miles. And the difference from 10% to 1% is such a large jump. To be great at anything, you have to put in like extreme amount of work for a long period of time. But it's just funny, dude, because I think that's where like, it's why I think it's impressive and why I enjoy talking with you is because to take it to the next level, it's the to get to that 1%, there's so much more work that goes in and people don't realize that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for sure. I appreciate you using me as an example. That's really cool. Um, I actually had a conversation with a buddy of mine yesterday because he saw the post I put up and he calls me and I haven't talked to him in a while. And he's like, dude, what's going on? Like, you got me all jazzed up with that post, so I had to call you. We haven't talked in a while. And I told him, just like I'm going to tell you right now, I always look at myself as just a normal dude that just goes out and puts in my best effort, and what happens, happens. When I first started doing Worlds, I was doing 50 miles and just crumbling, falling apart. And I literally told myself, I will never be able to do 100 miles at this race. Like it just seems impossible. But like you said, a little bit of extra work, a little bit extra dedication, and just putting yourself out there over and over. One thing led to another, and it happened. And I still consider myself a normal guy that just I don't know, just something different clicked, and there's really nothing special to it. It's just you got to dig really freaking deep while you're out there on course, and when everything hits the fan, you just got to keep moving because your mind is going to push you so much further than your body wants to, and that's the beauty of World's Toughest, and that's why I keep going back.
You'll probably agree with this. I think to your point, and I think what's valuable to me is I look back where in 2016 won my pro card as a bodybuilder. At that time, I never ran at all. A few years later, I wanted to get into running a little, and I realized pretty quickly I was atrocious runner. It hurt my knees, didn't feel good, and I said the same thing. Kind of, I was like, I'm just a bad runner. I can't run. But through micro goals every day, just getting a little bit better, putting in a little bit more mileage, I think it's important too to realize you said you did 50 and now you're capable of 100, 105, who knows, maybe more. But how much of that for you was the practice of like, you don't know what you're capable of until you actually put yourselves in that situation and show yourself that you are capable of more?
Yeah, I kind of had like an aha moment, or what I like to call letting down my ego type of moment. So I played some sports in high school. I was never a great athlete. I was always into extracurricular activities outside of school, like BMX and skateboarding and riding dirt bikes and quads and stuff like that. And then I got into CrossFit. I got into lifting after high school, quite a bit heavier, and then got into CrossFit. And CrossFit was just like, I became obsessed with it, just the competing every day in the gym. And that was around the time I started running Tough Mudders, and I was just like the weekend warrior guy that would just go out and like crush one or two laps and then drink some beer after and have a good time. Um, then I did my first Worlds and did my second Worlds, and it was kind of like, wow, this is a life-changing experience. I enjoy this. And then I started seriously focusing on running. Didn't run anywhere near what I run now. Like I said, I was still into CrossFit, and I just was so hooked on it that, I just wanted to do that. And I thought I was this great athlete and could lift all this weight and could run far, but you can't run far if you don't practice running far. You can run fast for a short distance, but you're not going to be able to run very far. So I got to a point, I think, so I did my first Worlds in 2015. I think around it's probably 2018, 19, where I was like, I need to change what I'm doing. I know I could be good at this. I know my body is built more for endurance. I need to let the ego down. I need to change some things up here. Put some of this CrossFit stuff to the side. So I started changing my training. I started running more. I started doing more endurance. 2019, I ran my first 100-miler race. Just the Silver Moon 100, 2.5 mile loop course. And that was life changing. Then I got into doing triathlon and these different things. So with all that accumulation of these different races and putting my body out there in different long endurance scenarios and letting go some of that ego of I can only be this one type of athlete and just broaden my horizons, that's when things started to really change. And 2021 came around, and honestly, I don't know how I made it 100 miles in 21. I mean, the weather was in my favor. I think I run a little bit better when it's warmer, but like it's crazy to look back now and see like where I am as an athlete now compared to in 2021 when I did 100 miles. And it's like I literally think that race was just like I had such a purpose of going into that race of why I wanted it, and that just took me through it.
You
But
mentioned, oh,
yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
no, you're good. You're good.
No, but you mentioned yesterday, so people didn't see the IG post. Is basically you had Lose Yourself, Eminem in the background playing, and it was you just basically like talking about there's a certain time every year that you're naturally just dial in, like your mindset starts to click. Like we're about to go on a journey. We want to be hyper focused. Physically, you're doing everything in your power. You've been training all year. You've been trusting your nutrition, but now it's time to dial in mentally. And I feel like when the reason I liked it, other than I just love sports psychology and hype up and motivational stuff, is it connected with me because last year, first time doing worlds, not knowing what to expect, I didn't have a plan in place mentally other than I felt like I could handle it. And I think to your point, letting the ego go, giving yourself some grace in those dark moments on a course is something that I've learned over this year. And it's learning like, hey, you're going to hurt, things are going to be hard. It's not if, it's when. So you need to start practicing like how to handle those situations because that's part of the psychology side. It's not avoiding pain or discomfort. When you are hungry, when you are fatigued, when you start to cramp, like what's your game plan and approach? And I feel like for me, that's been the mental switch for me. Now that I've felt that type of discomfort and those situations come up of can't put food down. All right, let's start to break this down. Like you're in the pit, you see your buddy like, hey, this isn't working. How do we fix this? It's not the end of the world. And that ego has to let go to realize, hey, I might need to slow down for a few minutes so I can regroup and I'm not failing. And now I can continue to move forward. Because I've had a lot of runs like this recently where like a 5 miler feels like death. And then, or like a 15 or a 20 miler, feel a little bit better. But in the middle of it, there's those moments of you're practicing those moments like, oh, I'm going to feel probably this ache in that race. So how do I compartmentalize it and work on it now and practice? And you can say what you want with that, but how much of that like after 2021 was like, when did that big mental switch change for you when you felt like you started to dial in? Was it when you realized you were, that was the moment of like, holy crap, I'm really capable of way more than I thought?
Yeah, it was in the year 2021. It wasn't even just at Worlds, it was before that. In 2020, we didn't have any races. And honestly, I wasn't doing a whole bunch of running. I was mostly lifting, throughout 2020. 2021, I got my first serious coach and I started doing just different kind of training. And that was mostly Ironman based training blocks that I got into. So I mean that kind of opened up my fitness level a little bit with different things. But I think what really, a couple things that really prepped me for that race that year was we raced Team Toughest in Philly. Me, Javier Escobar, Elliot Reeb, and Jake Ramsby. And that race brought us together as like this inseparable friend group, and we won that race. And coming back after having a year off of any Tough Mudder and just showing up at this race, like I completely forget how we even all got connected to come do this, but um, that like really put a chip on my shoulder that year. And after that, I mean, Javier already had his elite bib because he had already done 100 at Worlds. But the other three of us, we ended up with our elite bibs after that race. And that was just like an eye-opening moment of like, hey, I just, I'm up at this different pedestal for Worlds now. Like, I have an elite bib. This is awesome. I need to perform. So I started really taking training seriously. I had my coach programming certain things for me. And I mean, she's a freaking Ironman coach. She doesn't know how to program someone for 100 miles at World's Toughest. So it was like we were working together on stuff. And what the crazy thing I think that really like set me over mentally for that race was a good buddy of mine passed away when I was 18. And I actually started spending a lot of time with his parents right after that. And his dad ended up passing away a few weeks before World's Toughest. And I hadn't seen him in a long time. And it was the crappy thing was is his funeral was the weekend of World's Toughest. And, I had that hard decision of like, hey, like, I either have to miss this or miss Worlds or miss the funeral. It's like, what do I do? What's the right thing? And I decided to go race Worlds. And I knew I'm like, if I'm going to race Worlds, I'm putting in every single thing like I have into this because I'm not only doing this for me, I'm doing this for him. And yeah, I went in with that type of chip on my shoulder, and I had a bunch of family there with me and just like people I really wanted to show that hey, like I can do this. I mean, I had my mom there, my uncle there, my uncle, and I used to run Tough Mudders all over the place before he retired from it because he hurt himself. Um, but having those things combined is what really set me over the edge in that race. And like I said earlier, I was not in any physical shape compared to what I am now as an endurance athlete in 2021, but mentally I had such a purpose, and that's what I think has changed for me from then, from 2021 to now. It's like I know every year um, there's a moment before Worlds where my mind just locks in. That's why I posted that video yesterday because I can feel it. Like it's this weird thing that just happens. I'll be running or listening to certain music that I would listen to going into Worlds in the past, and something just clicks where I'm like, okay, it's go time. Like we got to lock in. This is it. You got to cut out some of the distractions, just focus on this next month, stay locked into the workouts, stay locked into nutrition, keep on track with everything. But I mean, really, like I said in the video, all the working out, all the eating healthy, that's easy for me. But it's that little bit of shift where okay, like I have this huge event coming up that's going to be so strenuous on my body. How ready am I going to be for it? Like, how am I how am I going to go into it mentally? What do I need to do right? What's this race going to look like in my head? It's just it's really hard to explain.
It
But
makes complete sense though. I think that's what people don't understand until you're in it. And I think that's why it's hard to explain sometimes is until I didn't understand it fully. I've done like my best example is like when we talked about I understand now from being last year and what it takes to flip that switch. For me, for 6, 7 years, it was bodybuilding. Like no one knows what it, like when you have to diet for 20, 26 weeks of insane discipline and be hungry and still find something in you. You talked about purpose. There's got to be a why and purpose behind why you're doing this, or you're not gonna be able to train with a deep hunger. Not even saying like hunger as a you want to do it, as physically you're starving, and you still have to hit all these things. And until you're in those situations, and it's hard to explain like that deep motivation or that deep purpose that you need to have to accomplish these things, and how your mindset has to be so dialed. Because like I like that you brought up, I made a couple notes because you brought up about purpose. I just talked to my buddy Brant on the last podcast. For the second, we talked a few times. He lost his wife 3 weeks, 2.5, 3 months before Worlds, and she battled cancer for 7 years. So he went into Worlds with a partial tear in his labrum in his hip. And he was like, well, this is above that. It's so we have to push that out. It's not about the hip anymore. We're gonna have to dive deep. We have to dial in because not only is this race for me and my wife was supporting me and my kids, but like I dedicated this race to my wife and I'm not gonna quit out there. So I like that you have this underlying idea of purpose of like I set this goal and I want to accomplish it. But something of it's so interesting how it almost opens up another box of like when other people are part of the purpose because you don't want to let them down on top of you wanting to give your best effort. That opens up like another level to you in a way. And it's interesting because I've talked to many people like that because it's like I can't let myself down, can't let my friend down, I can't let my wife down. I have to empty the tank out here. And that's
yeah,
interesting. Um, that side of like having a deeper purpose and a deeper why. And I think that's what's important to like be successful in any goal or any race is if you just want to do the race for fun, that's fine. But if you want to do it well, there's got to be a big reason that's holding you accountable when training and everything gets hard for you to continue to move forward, or like 3 in the morning and you're freezing.
yeah, yeah, 100%. And I think I really lock into just what you said right there, where there's an extra purpose. Um, I really had to find that um, a long time ago when I was first getting into World's Toughest, where I would go into the race and try to find something bigger than myself to focus on and to drive, help drive me through the race, which I still do that. And like you said, I don't want to let people down that are around me when I have a big pit crew there and I have people that have come flowing out here and put all this time and money and effort into helping me out. Like they're the last people I want to let down. So, and they know what my goals are before going into the race. So I'm gonna try my damn hardest to to meet my goals. And hey, sometimes it just doesn't happen. I mean, you could be the most phenomenal athlete in the world and go out and the weather can get you or something in your nutrition can screw you up. That's the beauty of this race is anything can really destroy you. So the if you're able to mitigate a bunch of risk and just react to the bad situations properly and get through it, then you're doing pretty good. Um, but yeah, I've this might be a little dark to say, but I've lost a few family members over the recent years. And going into Worlds of the year that they've passed, that's something that's really on my mind and something I really, have focused on and think like while I'm out there, it's you can tell yourself, so many things trying to get yourself motivated and hyped up to keep moving and X, Y, and Z. But when you have that other thing in the back of your brain of like, hey, I just lost this family member to this cancer or this or that, like what kind of hell did they go through experiencing that compared to what I'm going through now? Like this isn't shit. Like this is this is nothing at all. Like I'll be done with this race in 12 hours and I get to go lay down in a hotel room. But guess what? This person I loved is no longer here anymore. Um, so I mean, a little dark in a way, but sometimes I think those extra that extra little bit of motivation from hard times like that can really click in during a race and help kind of push you a little further than you can, push yourself.
I agree. I told this story before last time, but like with my wife, right? So she knew how much it meant to me. Even more this year than last year now. And to your point with having people supporting you, like, she makes the joke. She's like, can't wait till you're not running as much so we can actually spend some Sunday mornings together or like whatever it might be, right? Or if you have to go out for this hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, especially you when you're doing these like Ironman trainings where you're spending 5, 6, 7 hours a day training. It's like it's incredible. But with her, like at the end of last year's race, she didn't know the rules. I think I might even told you this before, but just people didn't hear it. Is I stopped at 22 and a half hours. I could have got another lap in, but I stopped. And she thought because I didn't complete the 24 hours, I didn't finish the race. So at the finish line, when I was literally like feet in front of it talking to my friend, she's like, you need to do another lap. I said, I'm good. I'm at 60. 65 doesn't make me feel any better. 60 or 65, who cares? So I shut it down. And I go, where's my wife? Because I was expecting like I just completed 60 miles. I didn't know where I finished exactly, but I wanted a big hug. Like we made it, we survived it, I did it. And she's crying in the like somewhere off the course that I didn't finish. And she thought like I quit before the 24 hours was over. And she was an emotional mess because she knew how much it meant to me. And she knows when I get home, when I'm comfortable, I'm going to regret this. And once I explained to her, I still get my medal, I still finished, but I didn't complete the 24 hours. She was better, but like I didn't have that cool moment where I wanted to like celebrate at the end. But it shows to like she knows me so well after 8 years how important that moment of completing my goal was. And this year, like I want 80, right? That's my goal. We're coming for it. And I want that bib, 75 bib, and then we'll see what happens. But having that moment of like finishing and how important it was to them. And now this year, like I want to make sure because of how much sacrifice she helped me to get here, that we can have that moment together we didn't have last time. So that's in the back of my head. Like, I don't want that again. Um, and then you talked about like those moments of like darkness that you have to do. And sometimes you got to dig, man. Like there's deep shit everywhere you have to find. You go into dark places because in a different way you're suffering completely. So you have to find that why. And I think what people struggle with there's 86,400 seconds in a day. You probably heard this, right? And it only takes one of those 86,400 seconds to quit. Like, so you have to be mentally tough and prepared that you have to go through 86,400 different times your brain could potentially quit on you and be tough enough not to let it happen. Especially in a loop course, you get to sit potentially every lap if you wanted. So it's interesting because I think that the purpose, having someone else, having that mindset of like finding whatever you can to continue to move forward because there's opportunities to quit at all times. It plays a big piece of the puzzle and you got to find what you need to get moving forward. And then if you have that why, then you're able to go a lot farther than if you're just like, it'd be fun to do this because
Yeah.
it's not that fun to have many, many pieces. You know what I mean? You can respond how you want to that, but I had another thing I wanted before I forget. When you're mentally preparing for the race, how much you mentioned yesterday visualization. I don't think people understand how important it is because a lot of people are like, oh, like I see myself doing something, but like actually living through the moment. And this is the sports psychology side I love when I was doing my master's that we dug a lot into is like seeing the moment in your head, like arriving at the course, hearing the sounds, picturing yourself walking onto the course, picture yourself running the course, finishing across the finish line, like the whole process. Like how much of that is something you've implemented more and more over the years?
Quite a bit. In my first real experience of that was in 2021. It's the weirdest thing. I know people talk about manifestation and things like that, which I mean, believe it, don't believe it. Um, I literally had pictured for a month, just a straight month out from the race in 21, the finish, crossing the finish line, getting 100 miles. And dude, I swear, when I did it, it was nearly identical to my visions that I had in my head. The weirdest thing ever. Like nearly freaking identical. Um, And the next year I went out and missed my last lap for 100 miles by like 2 minutes. But I got crushed that year with the with being freezing cold, and I don't think I went into that race as mentally prepared as I needed to. And last year in Texas, I was doing some manifesting before and envisioning things, and I mean, same thing as 21, just you know, cross that line again. And last year was it was a struggle
You had the
after
eye
missing.
stuff going on. You had
Yeah,
everything.
scratched my cornea. So yeah, I had a lot I had to deal with last year to make that one happen. But yeah, I mean, to anybody out there that's listening to this that really wants to go into this race with a big goal and you really want to do it, I mean, number one, you need to have, like, here's the hard truth. You need to have prepared from the beginning of this year till now the way, basically the way you want to run the race or whatever mileage you want to hit, you need to have prepared for that by now. I mean, if you're just starting right now with a month left, I mean, sure, magical things can happen, but it's going to be a little tough. But if you've been doing everything right this year with your eating, your training, and just staying on track, now is when you really need to start thinking about how the race is going to go. Just picture it. Just try to envision what the course is going to look like. I mean, a good thing you could do too is go on Google Maps and literally like look at where the course is going to be. Like look at the terrain and then try to picture that in your head what that terrain is going to look like and you running on it and everything like that, which is what I like to do. It's I like to kind of scope out the course a little bit beforehand and see like where we're going to be going um and then you get a real good picture in your head of what things are potentially going to look like. So it feels a little more realistic than just making something up in your head. But yeah, just manifest it, envision it, and just keep telling yourself in your head every single day that you can do this. I mean, even if it seems unrealistic, keep repeating it in your head, like I'm gonna hit 80 miles. I'm gonna hit 80 miles. Um, and I mean, things will happen. You'd be surprised.
I think part of that too is this combination of manifesting something to happen, belief, like self-belief, like believing that it can happen, speaking it into existence. It's not like you can manifest something to happen without putting in the action to doing the work. And I think that's the misconception, right? And that's where people are like, oh, it's voodoo. Like, like I loved UFC and Conor McGregor before he went off the ringer, before he fought Mayweather and all this whole thing. But when he was like, I loved his swagger, his confidence, because he backed it up and he put it in godly amounts of work. And he always speaks about the book, The Secret, about manifestation, talking things into existence, but also he put in the work that was required to do it. So to your point, if you put in the work all year and you start working on your mindset and you start planning in your mind how you're going to run this course and you start embracing, like, not fearing the cold, not fearing getting wet, like smiling in discomfortable moments and like just being like, I'm signing up for this and I'm embracing everything that comes with it and I'm going to attack it with the best of my ability. If you do all those things, you manifest, you talk about self-belief, you see the course ahead of time, you put in the work, then yeah, you could manifest it to happen because you did everything required to be there. And to your point, there's a lot of people doing it and there's only one winner.
Yeah.
But at the same regard, like that shouldn't stop you from doing everything it takes to get there. And that's where I think it's important. You've mentioned in multiple podcasts and conversations about having your own goal. And then like in the video you have where you shared, right? Where you're, which is cool. OCR report. I think it was OCR report did it, like a whole thing on
Yeah.
you, right? I've
Uh-huh.
watched that like a ton of times, but not only because you're in it, but like it's a good, like the way it starts. It's like 24 hours in the, it's like a super good hype up. And then it's a good 10-minute listen of all these adversities and goals that people have. And I think it's important to realize like how you battle those things. Um, I just love that. And I think that's like a big piece is manifestation always happens, or you got to make it happen through the work and the effort, but the mindset and like I said before, for me, now I know like what the day before looks like. When I pull up to my hotel on a Thursday, go to the course on a Friday. I go to get everything set up. I get there early and that comfort of knowing the plan is part of like my approach now where I was blind before. And I think practice
Yeah.
does help.
Yeah. No, totally. Um, Yeah, sorry. I was thinking about that video and how
It's a good
that's
video.
a really good video that the videographer they had out there. He was a good kid. He was running around the whole night. I actually messaged him recently. I said, "Hey, you coming out again?" He's like, "Oh, I got to message Matt B. Davis see if he'll fly me out." I said, Tell him to not be a cheap bitch and fly you out."
No, dude, but
Um,
it's so cool. It's so cool. Like
yeah,
I wish I could, I wish I had the extra money and time. Like I'm gonna fly two of my buddies out. One is gonna find me on the course at all times. One's gonna video me coming to the pit all times, interview me before it starts, and just make this badass like individual documentary like a Sally McRae or like a whoever.
yeah, yeah. Dude, that'd be sweet.
Yeah. I just need
Just
to,
do it, man. Just do it.
I just need, well, first of all, my wife would probably kill me. Um, but it's funny. It's like that would be like I had two videos off topic when I competed in bodybuilding, and I was documenting in 2016, like on cheap little dude, like old iPhones, like blurry
Yeah,
screen, like uploading my journey. I called it the road to the pro show. It was 20 weeks of me just documenting my road to the pro show, and my goal was like I'm gonna win this show, and then I'm gonna be qualified to win my pro card. And it was cool. Like I documented most of it, and it's old footage, but I actually went back and watched that is just to realize like how far you've come in different ways. And
yeah,
I think that's what the cool thing is you start to look back of like how many miles you put in and how much you've accomplished. And I don't think, people listening probably they're the same feeling, but they don't give themselves enough credit for how much they potentially have already accomplished. So they're always like beating themselves up and looking the negative of like every situation. Wake up, I'm tired, this run's tough, this sucks. Oh God, like and not giving them some credit like where they came from. And I see it with clients all the time. I'm like, dude, you've lost 20 pounds in the last 6 months. Like you're moving better, you're stronger. Like you give yourself some credit just because Joe Schmo like lost 50. Like, what's that comparisons, the thief of joy, like that thing?
yeah,
Like, so if I'm just gonna compare my standard to CBJ, like I'm gonna have a tough day, right? Because you've been doing this way longer than I have, right? But that doesn't mean I can give my best effort and hit a new personal record and feel good about it. You don't have to be, you know, Atkins or what's his name? You don't have to be these guys that just dominate and all this to do it. And I think, just do your best, set a high standard for yourself, hold yourself accountable, and just, maybe you'll surprise yourself if you can just do it with the best effort you can give possible.
yeah. And that's all it is, man. And yeah, you're spot on with that. Comparison is a thief of joy. And with social media and things these days, it's like you're seeing all these people doing these big things, and people can get really down and negative on themselves. But it's put all that crap to the side and focus on yourself and what you're doing. It takes a long time to do big things. Um, like personally, I think if I were to change up some of my training and take in the stuff more seriously earlier on, I probably would have been a better athlete earlier on. But it's life, and you go through phases of life, and I started doing this stuff when I was young. I mean, I'll be 30 next month, and I've been doing this stuff for 12 years,
Thank
right?
God
But
you're
I
not in my
didn't.
age category right now.
I think I'm moving up to the
Oh,
next
you
one
are?
this
Because
year.
wait, you'll be there. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
for second. I'm good with second. Go ahead.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, it takes time. It takes time. You really have to focus and change a lot in your personal life if you want to be at this, high up level and then do these big things. So yeah, it's all personal preference and what people want really. But I mean, if people just want to go out there and have a great time and have fun, and like I tell people all the time, I say if you want a life-changing experience, I don't care how good of an athlete you are or whatever, just go run World's Toughest Mudder. I mean, walk the damn thing for 24 hours. I don't give a shit. Like it's gonna change your life, and you're gonna be on that high for the freaking whole next year, and then you guess what? You're gonna sign up again because it's gonna be one of the coolest things you've ever done. You're gonna hate yourself for the next week after and say you're never going to do it again, but you're going to fall in love with it. And I mean, that's why shit, this will be my ninth worlds this year. It's
It's
like,
crazy.
yeah. And I'm getting to a point where I'm thinking, okay, how much longer am I going to be doing this? But, um, yeah, this next year, the UK, man, 6 months
Dude,
after.
my wife, I'm in a big predicament here. My wife was basically like, I want to go on vacations. I want to like do stuff. Um, I need to come up and prove to her I can make a bunch of extra money in the next 6 months, um, more than I'm making, and be like, hey, you don't have to come. I'm gonna have someone come with me. It'll be awesome. And I'm gonna do my thing for like 4 days. And when we come back, we'll go to Hawaii in like 3 months later, and everything's gonna be fine. Because I think part of it is, when I'm dumping $3,000 on one of these trips, and we haven't went on a vacation since our wedding, and not because we couldn't like afford it, but like, there's only so much time we can take off throughout the year to do different things, and part of it is this race, right? And I really want to go there. Like, I just think, how cool do you think it is, and how much part of this is for you? Like, if this race, if World's Toughest was down the road from you, would it be nearly as cool as flying across the country to race?
No,
I think
no.
flying across the country to do a race, and we're like, what are you doing this weekend? I'm flying across the country to do a race. It's the coolest thing ever. I'm in different territories, different horses. Like, it's like running the same trail over again. Like, it's just a new experience. Like when you flew to Abu Dhabi, like that's
Yeah.
got to be like the craziest thing ever. Like, that's still not as cool if you were racing that race in Connecticut.
Yeah. It's getting to travel is one of the big things, like the big attraction to me with all these races and stuff. Um, I mean, yeah, if Worlds was 30 minutes away from me, I mean, that would be kind of cool. It'd make things pretty easy,
I'd
but
probably be, yeah, if I lived in England, it would be cool for next year. But
yeah. Um, yeah, the traveling is a huge component for me. I mean, I've gotten to see a lot of the world just due to athletic events and other things. So yeah, that's a huge attraction to me. So I think I'm gonna try to do UK, but I've got the Monster in April. So I'm gonna
oh,
be
you're doing the wait, you're doing the 300 miler. I forgot.
yeah. So I've got Worlds,
Bro.
I've got Worlds, and I'll literally be back in Florida 4 weeks later to do a half Ironman distance triathlon. It's not an official Ironman race, but they call it the Daytona Clash. And yeah, then I've got Monster in April, and then potentially WTM at the end of June. So we'll see how the
So
body's feeling, but
I had a great talk. My friend Kat did her second 50 miler, um, 3 weeks ago. So I drove up to New Hampshire. She was in the White Mountains, and she
nice.
raced in a super technical course. She came in second of all females in 17 hours, which is crazy, right? Like when you talk to someone that came in second, how long did it take her? I'm like 17 hours. It's a funny number to say out loud. And
Is that a lot of elevation?
yeah, 16,000 feet elevation accumulated.
Oh, damn.
But parts of the trail that are like this, hiking, and pieces where you almost can't see your feet. That's like technical, like tall grass and rocks. So the hardest part is there's a lot of pieces you want to run it, but it's too technical roots and rocks to run. You're like literally stepping on rocks. So you have to pace at a certain speed. Um, yeah, and it was kind of crazy because she had a lot of issues going into the race, but again, she's someone like who just, do you have any friends like this? Because this is not me. She goes, I'm going out for 5, 6 mile light run. And then she's like, it was a beautiful day and flowers were out. So I ran for 9 or 10. And I'm like, that's just not me. Like, I have a goal. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get out of there. But she just
Yeah.
loves being in the wilderness. So when she's out there, she doesn't run with a watch. She doesn't run with anything. She's just in the woods enjoying the beautiful butterflies. And which is probably why those races she's good at too, because she's like, what time is it? Where are we? Um,
Dude, that's awesome. What do they call that now? I've been seeing people like post stuff of like on a plane where they just sit there and don't do anything. They're calling it like raw dogging
yeah,
like
something like that. Yeah,
flights. Yeah.
it's crazy.
She's just raw dogging runs.
It's just, dude, it's just not my personality. She just like wants to go to cool looking places to do short. She wants to drive like 35, 40 minutes to do like a 7 mile run. I'm like, I'm gonna hit the trail next door to my house. Thanks. Like, I don't
Yeah.
enjoy the wilderness like that. I have a purpose. I want to put my miles in and I want to be done. Um, and for me, that's been running. I have a goal. Running is part of the goal, but I like strength training way more. Give me
Yeah.
weighted pull-ups every day, all day. I'm cool with that. Um, So that's been the hardest thing for me. So just trying to let my brain relax on runs because it used to give me tons of anxiety because everyone's like they're bored. So when I'm bored, my like almost like this ADD, ADHD, like I'm like I'm not
Yeah.
going anywhere. Like I need, and
Yeah, it's
so
just
it,
explodes in your head.
yeah. So I'll listen to like different things. I even re-listen to my own podcast just to like critique myself on it before, just trying to
Yeah.
get my mind to focus on something else.
How
Um,
long did it take you to be able to listen to yourself, like listen to your own podcast?
It's funny, man, because I've nonchalantly been recording myself, not at a high level or a ton, but since like 2016, 15.
Hmm.
So I would say, dude, it's so funny. It's different now because even in front of a class, I'm decent, but I'm so funny. I'm like cool with a camera. But it took years to feel comfortable, like not, I still judge myself and nitpick if I say like this or like that. So I still critique myself, but I'm not scared of my voice or anything anymore. Like I'm not like over analyzing it or embarrassed in a way. But it took years for sure. 100%.
Yeah.
Uh, and like now I feel comfortable about whatever, you know. I still have my moments where I try to be mindful of not using as many filler words. I think I try to get better at pausing. Like even that dead silence I would be so nervous of before, like that little like I gotta fill it, I gotta fill it. So I think it's interesting, but that's just like growth, just like anything else, and trying to get better, um, and willing to be uncomfortable, which probably sums up like everything that we do in life.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
do you still have that? Like if you were to listen to this after this, you'd be like, oh God.
No, I used to really bad. And I started recording some of my own podcasts a couple of years ago. I haven't done it in a long time, but it was so hard for me to go back and listen to my own voice. It like creeped me out. Gave me
It doesn't
this
sound the same,
weird,
doesn't it?
gave me this weird feeling. And even with some like a couple years ago doing podcasts with some people, I could not listen to the podcast. I was just yeah, give me that weird feeling. But now it's fine. You know, I can listen to this or I've even listened to my own podcast driving around before. They'll just come on and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like listening to myself talk while I'm driving around. Um, but yeah,
What an
it's just a
ego.
whole
What an ego.
yeah. It's just yeah, I guess it's a different kind of confidence you got to get used to.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think to your point, it's like not judging yourself too much. You brought up like other things and letting the ego go.
mhm.
Like you might be not great at this and it might sound a little weird, but you can always improve. But yeah, it is interesting. It's the same thing when people look in the mirror, if they're looking at their physique or something, and you just pick yourself apart. It's like, yeah, there's improvements you can make, but
Yeah.
like, what's it going to do to just shit on yourself? It's not going to
Yeah.
help. But
Like,
it is weird. The first time if you're not someone who ever records yourself and you hear your voice, you don't sound like what you think you sound like.
yeah. Yeah, that's 100% true. Even recording videos for myself, for example, the one I posted yesterday, I had to re-record that a ton of times. Like the first time I recorded it, I was just thinking about things and I told myself, I want to record this. Like I think this would be good to put out. And as I was recording it, I slipped up on one word. And since it wasn't going to be perfect, I ended up re-recording that like multiple times.
Yeah,
Like in the middle of my workout, I'm just like, oh, I gotta get this done. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I critique myself so much, and I always feel awkward posting videos. That's why I don't post a lot, and it's kind of yeah, it's a self-conscious thing too, where
We all have those
um,
insecurities though. Like, I
yeah,
mean,
like
like,
I'm like I don't want to look like an influencer because I
yeah,
freaking hate that term.
like, yo,
But
happy Monday, guys. This is CBJ in the building. You know, it's
yeah.
like you don't want to be that guy, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I just want to drop a little bit of knowledge for people every once in a while to hopefully inspire somebody with what I'm doing. I actually had a really cool moment at toughest shoot, where did I just go and do tough Chicago?
Chicago, yeah, that was the most recent one.
Yeah. We had, kind of a new group of guys with Elliot and I, and then two new guys that we brought on, Mark and Jack. And dude, we were out there running. I mean, that was the best competitive Tough Mudder race as far as team goes that I've ever been a part of. I mean, it was balls to the wall, run as hard as you can every single time you're on course because we had two other teams where we were like first place and then dropped to second, first, second. It was just we were catching each other constantly. Just badass race. It was so much fun. But I had a moment on course where I passed this group of guys and I'm just running, booking it. Like heart rate's tacked at like 185. I'm just scooting along and I pass these guys. And like I always tell people good job when I pass them. Like I don't care if you're an elite, if you're a newbie, like I'm gonna like congratulate you, tell you you're doing good. That's just part of the sport. And I appreciate everybody that goes out there and does these races, no matter what shape you're in. Um, and I pass these guys, and this guy's like, "Hey, is that CBJ?" And I'm just booking it, so I like slow down a little and turn around. I'm like, "Yeah," I'm like, "How's it going?" And I was like, and it was dark, so I couldn't see who it was. And I said, "Who is it?" And this guy said, "He's like, you don't know me, but I'm a follower of yours on social media." And he's like, "I follow your stuff all the time, and it's awesome. Like it inspires me." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, man." I turned around, dude. I almost started crying. Like it kind of hit me because I don't have a big social media following at all, but my goal with all the stuff I post is to try to reach at least one person. Maybe help one person out just a little bit. And to randomly hear someone say like, "Oh, I follow you and like what you do is awesome." It's like, dude, it hit me. Like literally I'm tacking out my heart rate running. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm gonna start crying right now." Like
Like, what's wrong? What's wrong? You're like, I'm
yeah.
fine. I'm
But
fine.
little moments like that, man, like I know I touched somebody,
Sure.
and that means it means a lot to me. And I don't feel like I need to reach the whole world and inspire the whole world. But if it's just one person randomly, that means the freaking world to me.
I
And
agree.
and that's like why when people like when I come on this podcast or I talked to my buddy Scotty yesterday, and people will give me compliments like, "Oh, you're at this high level, you do this and that." I mean, okay, from the outside looking in, yeah, maybe just because of records and what it says on scoreboard or leaderboards and stuff like that. But like I always tell people, I'm just a normal dude, man. Like I'm a normal freaking guy. I'm not gonna not talk like push you away from me because you might be new to the sport or this and that. Like the beautiful thing about this sport is I started as just a random kid that wanted to go run a freaking Tough Mudder and drink some beer afterwards. And I worked my way up. I remember seeing like these tight cliques in the Tough Mudder community, and I wanted to be in them so bad. I remember idolizing Trevor Psychos and certain people in the sport, and then building my way up to where like Trevor Psychos is a really good friend of mine. And like I was there when he baptized his child. Um, Javier, Elliot, Jake, like these guys were in my wedding. Like this sport has just opened up so many doors for me. And I my main premise of talking about this was I started from nothing in this sport and I worked my way up to a higher level, but I'm still the same guy. Like
Yeah.
yes, I have two orange jackets on the wall behind me. That's cool, right? I mean, whatever. Like, but what's next, right? Like another video I posted yesterday is what's next for me. Okay, well, I want to break 100. I want to hit 105. The orange jacket was cool. But, you know, it's like with making money. You set a goal, you hit that. It's cool for a day. What's next?
Yeah.
So, I want people to realize that is all these fancy medals and stuff, they're great. It's a great thing to reach for and to achieve. Um, but don't settle on it. You can push yourself further. So once you get there, just keep pushing as far as you can. And another thing I wanted to say too, when you show up at Worlds, show up humble, but have a chip on your shoulder. Don't think you're the most badass thing out there. Don't think you're the worst thing out there. But show up with a plan, be focused, know who you are, trust in yourself, but also have a little swagger. I mean, you got to have a little energy. You got to use that energy and that hype and that belief in yourself to keep you pumped up and to keep the negative thoughts out of your head. That's something important. I always go into a race thinking of. It's like I'm focused. I'm ready for this. But like I said, just like all of you guys, yeah. So
Yeah, no, I
yeah,
mean,
that's
it makes sense. It like cut out for us, like just like a half a millisecond, so I wasn't sure if we were finished. But no, I agree, and I think this year I have a better swagger, and I think when you do your first anything, it's a little nerve-wracking. You're not sure what to expect, and it's interesting. Other than another year of training, definitely way more running volume this year than I have last year, but my total mileage, I would say in general, isn't extremely higher because I had some setbacks. But like to your point, that mental spot of being like, hey, like I may not be my training may not have been perfect, not because of anything in my power, just injuries and some setbacks, but like I know like there's a different confidence going in. And for me, that's such a huge piece of like I'm ready to endure what I have to endure. Um, and you talked about a couple cool things in regard to like the fact that when you're going into the race and having that confidence and swagger, it's not that you're putting other people down, but just like you have your buddies you're going to play some rec basketball with, and a little bit of like shit talk swagger, like I'm the man, like let's go is going on. Like you're not
yeah,
putting people down, but you have to have that competitive confident edge when you get out there of like, this is my race. Like you do you. I'm not going to stop you from doing you. I'm not going to put you down during the race. I'm going to cheer you along. But this is my shit. Like I'm coming in
yeah,
hot. Like, like I'm going to send it. And I think you almost have to have that level of confidence, especially the higher level you go. If you don't meet anyone good at anything that doesn't have that level of confidence. And to your point, you're I would say in Tough Mudder, you're one of the top guys arguably in the sport when it comes to, in the recent years at Worlds because you consistently put in 9,500, all these big mile races. So the fact that you can be humble enough, to be like, I'm not bigger than anybody else. But that doesn't mean race day, I'm coming in hot, and I think that's
yeah.
important to have that humbleness, but that like Mamba mentality at the same time. And it's a balancing act, but you're not cocky. You're not trying to put anybody else down. You're bringing people up, and that goes into the environment. And this actually, as I go on this little tangent, it reminded me of what I wanted to say before you said all that. Is I'm probably one of the most things I'm looking forward to this year is the fact that I know like 15 to 20 people racing this year. So I'm just hyped. Like we've never met in person, you know, like
Yeah, I think that's true. Or did we? Well, I mean, we probably
we might have seen real quick,
met
but like
last year.
I reached out to you post Worlds because I saw you did so
Yeah,
well and I wanted to talk to you. We may have passed each other, but I've never like dapped you up and was like, "What's up, man?" So like that's the weird thing of like I've met you, I've met all these other people over the years, over this past year, and like I'm excited to just like day before, morning of, be like, "What's up, dude?" Like it's just a different camaraderie or excitement. And surrounded by like a bunch of positive people that have good energy that are ready to like let it fly. So I'm excited to that community of people that I've met over this past year that are all racing with a big goal because it pushes me to be better for sure. And you mentioned earlier about the importance of having people that are just going there to have a good time. If everybody was racing at a high level competitively, I think part of the environment would be very different too. Because there's
mhm.
so many volunteers that aren't going to race. They're just going to support and bring energy and hype up. And all the people that aren't going to race at the highest level do their best. Like that's where half that energy, if not more, comes from.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's amazing that we have. I mean, legitimately every year at Worlds have people that just go out there and sit at an obstacle for a full day just to help people. And I don't really know too many other races like Worlds where you have these extreme obstacles where at some point your body is really going to have a hard time getting over them. And without these people being there just to volunteer and help you over, you're going to be doing penalties or, like you're going to be spending a bunch of time running whatever the penalty is. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing having these people out there just to volunteer, and that's what makes them feel good. And that's the beauty of World's Toughest. I mean, you got people that are like, hey, I don't want to put in 50 miles. I want to sit out here and have you stand on my knee to get over this wall the whole race.
They are
Like
destroyed
that's
too, like stepping on your
yeah.
shoulders. Like they're bruised up, scraped up. It's like you run the race. Like, nah, I was just hoisting people for 20
Yeah.
hours straight.
They say I did one lap, but I lifted thousands of people over this freaking wall, which is
Yes.
so crazy, man. Yeah, but it's a totally different race, like you said, than anything else. You got people go out there that just walk and will walk the whole damn time, which is crazy too. I think that's worse than running the than trying to run it the whole time.
You know Courtney Dauwalter?
Yeah,
So she talked about a race. I forget if it was the Moab or it was which 200-mile race she won. I forget what it was. It was a huge race, and she smoked everybody, and she beat the next person by like 7.5 or 8 hours. And
was
she
that
was,
Cocodona 250?
I think it was Cocodona. She won by like over almost 8 hours. Like she smoked everybody. And what was funny, and she stayed and she like was cheering people as they crossed the finish line. And it's funny because to your point exactly, she goes, "Yeah, it may have taken me like 76 hours, but like, can you imagine? Like there were people out there for like an extra day and a half, 2 days. Like, can you imagine how hard that has been? And she just won this race, pacing at a credible pace, like the 60-second nap she was mastering. And she's giving people credit because of how hard it must have been to race for 48 more hours.
Yeah.
So it's just perspective, like that humbleness, but she's a fucking savage.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a different game for sure.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
cool. But
I don't know how she does that, man. I mean, I'm gonna find
training at
out
the
this
highest
next
level.
year. Yeah.
But
Yeah, the
she,
whole sleeping thing is what I kind of have a hard time with.
so here's this 300-mile race. How the hell do you like? I've listened. I talked to a guy who just did the Moab 240 at my
Yeah.
friend's race, and he goes, I'm glad I did it. I'm never doing anything like that again. And he goes because he's like, it's not like it's not even like a race. It's like it's just like pure suffering for
Yeah.
and lack of sleep and just not like it's such a long thing, 70, 80, 90 hours you're out there. So it's such a different thing, like you're sleeping, but how much are you sleeping? Like what it's I don't think you can even come up with a great plan because it's such a feel thing at a certain point.
Yeah. So I'm actually going out there in a couple weeks. My buddy Elliot's running it again. I think this is his fourth time, and I've paced him.
For the 300 miler?
No, well, he's doing the 300 with me, but he's also doing Moab in a
Oh,
couple
Moab.
weeks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be out there pacing him. But last year he slept 2 hours out of 90, I think it was 91 or 92 hours it took him to finish, which
Bonkers.
is crazy. Which is something that yeah, like that's what scares me the most about doing the monster is how I'm going to structure sleep and stuff like that. Because when
Dude,
I would
that's
the
a whole different ballgame.
yeah, whole that's nuts. But when I did the drift 101 out in Wyoming a couple of years ago, I mean it was negative like 18 degrees and whatever, and you're in the snow the whole time. And I didn't sleep at all for like 60 hours. Not like
That's
nothing.
crazy.
And because I couldn't shut my mind down. It was so damn cold. Like I just wanted to keep moving and I was hallucinating like crazy. So that was my last real like mega sleep deprivation experience. And now I'm thinking, well, damn, I'm gonna be out on this course for probably 5, 6 days. Like I need to find a good structure of how I'm gonna sleep a little bit because I don't there's no way I'm gonna try to like push
Yeah,
through on a few hours here and there.
you have
But
to.
my buddy Jake just did the Tahoe 200 in June. I paced him a little bit on that one, and he had the structure down good. He'd get to an aid station like really late at night or very like early in the morning, and he'd sleep a couple hours and get his circadian rhythm kind of on track. But he had that lined up like each night, and it was perfect. So I think that's what I'm going to shoot for. I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah, and I think to your point, take his advice, try to implement as much as you can because it's a whole new territory. And
Yeah,
again, I feel like again, you don't really know until you're out there. You have a plan, and then you have a plan B, C, D, F, and G, and try to figure out which one works the best. Um,
yeah.
It'll be interesting, dude. That's like I knew all the big 200s, 250s, 240s. I didn't know there was a 300.
They just came out with it this year.
And I'm sure like 40 years ago, people would be like people like even 20, 30 years ago, like a 100 miler was like people didn't do that often. It was such a small group of people.
Yeah.
It's crazy how far it's came and like what the body's capable of and how far people are just going to continue to push the body. I have no interest going over, I have zero interest going over 100 ever. I don't know if I'll do 100 ever. Like a true running race. Because again, I like the mix. What I am intrigued by, because it puts me at a somewhat closer level where I don't feel like it's just such a above me, is the last man standing stuff. Again, that stuff has me intrigued because I like loops. My brain processes them well. Like 5 mile loop or a 4.2 mile loop. I'm going to do 2 miles. I'm halfway through, two more. I see my friends and family. I regroup. I go out, and that is like I'm good with loops. I don't like point to point. Um, my brain just goes into that like we have how many more miles before halfway? Where like a
Yeah.
little, like even worlds, I like that. I'm like 2.5 in, I'm like halfway through this lap. Sweet. I'm 1.2 from a quarter. Like my brain breaks everything down to micro things consistently.
Yeah.
Um, that is so much better for me.
Yeah, that makes sense that way. I think I mean I'm used to the lap format or the loop format. I've done 300 milers with a either 2 mile or 2.5 mile lap. You're just
That is crazy
constantly
for that
just
distance. That's
yeah, and
that's a
I mean
lot of laps.
yeah, I mean Worlds is, 5 miles, but you get to learn the course very well, very quick. But
Autopilot at one point, I'm sure.
yeah, seriously, it's autopilot. But I think point to point intrigues me a little bit more just because it's new, constant new territory. You're not having to redo something. But yeah, everybody's a little different. I feel like
Yeah.
I stress out a little more when I'm like, oh, back again, back again, back
Well,
again.
I do think it gives people an opportunity to quit. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think people, if you looked at the percentage of people that quit in an ultra on a loop compared to a point to point, I think the loop is probably higher. I
yeah.
think,
Because you're going back to the start point, and you can just easily just step
call it,
off and be done.
I can see where like it's overwhelming at the same time when you're on a point to point. You're like, I'm out here by myself for this many more. But for me, I think that's what Worlds is interesting because that's part of the mental game of you just got out of the Arctic enema and you're just soaked and cold and wet. And now your crew's right there and you can sit down in your chair and they put a blanket on you and you can just call it a day.
Yeah,
You can take
I
a
I
nap. It's a
I love Arctic enema. I mean, when it's if you're at Worlds and it's 30 degrees, Arctic enema is no good. But if it's a little bit warm, like 60, maybe high 50s, I literally think Arctic enema makes the body feel so much better. I,
your
I mean, I don't know
joints.
what, yeah, I don't know what it is about like running 100 miles just on like a flat road course, dirt road course, freaking hurts. But like I compare that to running with all the obstacles. I mean, your whole body soreness is it's a completely different game. But as far as how you feel, I mean, being in water constantly and then getting in that really cold water, I feel like you kind of have like a little bit of recovery each lap just from being wet and,
It's
getting in that really cold water. It kind of just like rejuvenates you and your muscles and you just can, get back at it.
it's interesting because I agree. I think I never feared the cold. I know everyone's like, oh, it's gonna be the cold water, but I never feared it. I do think like part of me knows everybody. Again, this is where you're not putting people down, but your competitive edge piece of I know how many people dislike it. So I'm like, make like three of them involved in the lap because I know like I'm gonna be a little more comfortable during it. And because I know I'm not as high level runner as a lot of you guys, I go, I want it to be fucking 90 degrees and 51 degrees at night. And I want like you know what I mean? I just want, because I think I can tolerate and pace and prep. to handle heat well and not let it get to me through like sauna work, running in the heat and doing all this stuff. And I think a lot of people it will hit. So then the competitive side of me comes out. I don't want them to crash and get hurt, but I do feel like that, to your point, the cold gives you a different mindset. It rejuvenates you, the inflammation drops a little, and you start looking at like how beneficial the cold can be, and how you can make it something that helps make you stand out from the crowd in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Uh, yeah, I don't run the best in the cold or when it's very cold. Um, I can mitigate it. And I've gotten a little bit better over the past few years, but yeah, I'm more of a warm temperature type of guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I get it.
it's been like high 90s here still.
Oh yeah. See, like nights,
It's
it would hit like 49 here at night.
yeah. We had a little cool down and then it jumped back up to 190s this week.
That's
And
crazy. So much warmer.
yeah. Oh yeah. So I think what are your
Yeah, right now
predictions
it's
on weather?
65 where I am, partly cloudy.
Let me see. Man, it is it's cold over there. I'm still over here in shorts and t-shirts every day.
Yeah, so like I actually joined a members gym that had a sauna. So I was starting like a lot of sauna work just because I haven't had heat in a while. So just to, it's interesting. I was reading some articles, some study stuff, and it was like, how long does it take to start to like help your body adapt to regulate your heat, regulate your hydration, your electrolyte balance, like how much you're sweating. And it was kind of like it takes like that, the one I was reading was like 30 to 45 days of like consistent to like really balance it out. Some people said
Yeah.
like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but um, because you go from like not experiencing anything over like 75 and then it's like 90 with humidity, your
Oh yeah.
sweat regulation's off, you're overheating really easily, you're not handling, and then the mental game of like the panic of just not being able to handle that kind of heat.
Yeah, exactly. Or you're not prepped with your nutrition well enough or haven't tried it well enough to be adjusted to that. Yeah, it's
What's your
actually
go-to goo? You use goos? So I've just started using the Huma gels.
no, so I use raw fuel.
Oh yeah,
Cur-
yeah. No,
I'm
I
cur
knew. I don't know why I asked. I'm using the electrolytes and carbohydrate drink because of you. So
Yeah, so yeah, thank you by the way.
yeah,
Every lap I'll have my pit crew mix up a certain amount of scoops of that stuff. So I'm getting a certain amount of carbs, calories, and sodium. Um, and then I will have like a whole food source, which varies. I do some different things, but I'll stay on that as long as I can. And then I'll carry, I used to carry Spring Energies with me. I don't respect that company anymore.
yeah. That
So
was
I'm not
bullshit.
gonna,
Bacon
yeah, I'm not
everything.
gonna, yeah, I'll never use Spring Energy ever again. But I will. VPN makes Go gels, which are good. So I'll probably have some of those.
Yeah.
Raw is coming out with some gels here
They have
soon,
a
but not.
honey, right? A honey and another one, like an original and a honey coming out, I think.
Yeah, yeah, but
I was just
I don't know
looking at
when
it.
we're
That's why,
dropping.
because I was gonna pick Go Gels from Nick Bear, VPN, or Huma, because they were both purees,
Uh,
right? And I think that's the same thing, like the honey-based ones or the puree or Whole Foods is the same thing Raw's doing.
yeah, yeah, but pretty much the same deal. Precision Nutrition is actually really good too. They have some good gel packs. But I carry some of those just as a backup, and then I just stick to my same foods in the pit until my body says no more of this, and then we switch to pizza and some unhealthy crap at the end, and it works. I mean, it's worked the past handful of years. Um, yeah.
Yeah, we
Another trick too that helped a little bit last year. It's a little rough to do, but if you can hold off on any caffeine or any painkillers till about 14 to 16 hours in, do it. Because once you hit them, freaking, it's gonna push you like you're gonna be super low, your legs are gonna hurt, your energy is gonna be twacked out. But then once you take all that, boom, you're on like another level and it's gonna push you through the end.
just dump your body full of a caffeine. Oh, is your quadruple espresso shot with a, But dude, it's
Well, last year I was gonna say last year, DJ and Javier, they were in my pit and they were both saying they're like, don't take any caffeine, just wait, just wait. So like every lap I come around and I'm like, hey, can I take some stuff yet? They're like, nope, keep waiting, keep waiting. And then all of a sudden they're like, all right, you're good. Now we're 16 hours into this. You can have some painkillers and some Red Bull. Like, thank
That's
God.
hilarious. So I ran into a predicament. I don't know how you to handle this, but um wife's texting me. She's like, "How's your day
No, you're
going?"
good.
Good. I'm on a podcast with Christian. Um, so it's funny. Literally, I was feeling good, sleeping good, hydrating good. I don't get headaches very often. Freaking morning of the race, just a pounding headache. And then it went to like a dull headache. But you know when like that it almost gives you this underlying like you can't just get hyped up. It's kind of just there. And you lightly feel it when you run at a higher intensity because you feel like your blood pressure is rising a little. So I'm like,
Um,
Cat, this race hasn't even started, but I can't get into this race with this headache. So I'm like, literally, like lap one, I'm like, Cat, I need something to take this edge off because I'm not going to be able to like push myself because everything hurts, or it hurts right now. So I had to take something right as it started, and then I did take it again later in the night. But I was in that predicament of like, I was like, what the frick, man? I'm like sitting on the ground before the race starts, and I want to get excited, but I'm like, ah, it's a stupid thing. So I had to do what I had to do, and eventually
yeah.
it did go away, but it was just bad timing.
No, and that's fine too. And to be completely honest, I did have a slight bit of caffeine before the race start, which
Yeah,
I
I have a
think
cup
is
of coffee in
good.
the morning.
Yeah, which I think is good just to kind of get everything flowing. But then once you get going, try to hold off as long as you
Makes sense
can.
though.
Yeah. Yeah, just because you don't want to overdo it up front and then hit a crash at night or right before the end because you want all your energy and to be pushing when everything is really hurting and you're tired. So holding off as long as you can is the best, in my opinion.
I agree. I think so for it's interesting. So my nutrition piece now, I've been practicing on my long runs, making them basically like a down and back or a loop into 5, 6 mile increments. And then so every hour practicing coming back, like running out 2.5 or 3, coming back, which I've
Mm.
been doing. Most of my runs are like low zone two, like zone two work, 10-minute mile paces, just like going in and back.
Yeah.
And I come back and I'm like, all right, so I'll use the raw fuel and I'll go 200 calories, so 2 scoops and like 10 to 12 ounces of water, pound it down, and then I'll either superset it with like a gel, hit it,
Mm.
and then I'll like go back out. And
Yeah.
then so practicing about 300 calories per. And then I think what I'm gonna do, because I started practicing this, is my laps weren't as fast as some people. So like if I'm taking an hour and a half or more for a lap, I think in one of my zip pockets, I'm gonna bring like a Go Gel or a Humagel or something like that. And when I hit the
Yeah.
water station, just go water, water, and then to try to superset it. Because when I was putting too many calories in right at once, it just didn't feel good. So if I can even get an extra 100 calories in the middle out there somewhere, just real quick, nice and easy, I think that'll help me get my total like average calorie per hour up and carbohydrate per hour up. Um, so I'm getting like, in theory, like I'm getting enough sodium, getting enough carbohydrates. My hydration's decent. Um, and just doing that as much as I can as early as I can, because I know eventually the food intake's gonna just start to go.
Yeah.
So if I can get 300 an hour at first, I think I'll feel really good. And then, because last year that nausea from the heat and the headache put me hitting a brick wall pretty early.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it's really good to make sure you're loading up the few days prior. Like I'm gonna do, and this is all kind of based on some Ironman prep stuff. I'm gonna do about 6 grams of carbs per pound of body weight the day prior.
how much do you weigh
So I'm
right
gonna,
now?
I'm pretty light right now. I'm like 172, 173.
Hey, we're exactly the same weight.
Yeah, I'm pretty light. I think last year going into Worlds I was about 180, but I feel
Very
pretty good.
freaking fast, mobile, and agile.
Yeah, yeah, no, I feel pretty good.
So a
Definitely
thousand,
skinny.
that's your carbohydrate intake? 1,032?
So I'll probably, well, I'm gonna try to shoot for somewhere around that. But I know the day before. the Ironman I did earlier this year. I think I did 5 grams per pound.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was around like 900-ish.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to load up on some sodium the day prior because then that's going to last through a good section of the beginning of the race, or at least help. So especially if it's hot and you're going out there like and you're sweating and struggling, you're not going to try to be playing catch up. That's just going to help,
Game
you
over.
know,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what helps too?
which is what gets a lot of people too. Like last year, I mean, a lot of people were just sweating like crazy and just cramping the first couple laps.
Yeah, it got to 80s. It didn't expect it. You know, it was the other part too is people don't realize what because it was windy. I feel like a lot of us were drying faster than expected, which they get this
Yeah,
false impression that they're not sweating as much as they really are. So
yeah,
like you still need to get like even I remember Nick Bear had some work done when he did a electrolyte balance test. And in his weather when he was in Texas, he was literally or Nashville or wherever he was losing like 1,000 milligrams of sodium an hour in the heat. It was
yeah,
crazy, right? And you look at people that are not even taking that much electrolytes. Like I do like 250 an hour. I'm like, you're in the heat, man. Like you're
yeah,
sweating. Like that's not
yeah.
enough.
I know. I volunteered at a little mountain running race on Saturday, and it's an elevation gain race for 4 hours. And people were, coming back down the hill, and they're like, "Oh, I'm cramping. What should I take?" And someone had given them some salt pills. I was like, how much sodium are you gonna take right now? 110 milligrams. I said, no, bullshit. I said, you
Times
need a whole
10.
gram.
Times
Yeah,
10.
you need a gram right now, at least. Like everyone's so afraid of or just doesn't know about the levels of sodium you need. I mean, like during Worlds, I'm gonna take over a gram per hour.
Makes sense.
Like,
I'll probably be in the six based on what I was thinking, right? And I could be wrong, but I initially was like, if everything went as planned, it was like 7 to 800 based on what I just told you between the two
yeah,
carbo, like, and then the goo, which is about 100. Um, but yeah, I don't think people realize sodium is an electrolyte. We look at sodium
yeah,
as high blood pressure, you're gonna die. You know, it's
yeah,
like, yeah, it's just like carbohydrates. Like when someone's like, oh, it causes type 2 diabetes. I'm like, I consume a lot of sugar. You
yeah,
know, I have perfect numbers because I'm active and
yeah,
big difference. So it's not that all or nothing mentality. It's like you need carbohydrates, you need sugar, you need sodium, and
yeah.
like you need to hydrate like a racehorse.
Yeah, exactly. Prime is not going to be your
Dude,
hydration source.
oh my gosh. Like I had a client that was like, the other problem is too is 80% of America's sodium comes in from processed foods. So like when I'm putting salt over my food, they're like, "Oh, I don't salt my food." And I see people go from like poor diets to like more nutritious, healthy diets, and their sodium probably goes from like 5,000 milligrams to like 500 milligrams because they don't eat processed anymore. But I'm like, you need to salt your food. Like you need sodium. And then they're like, well, I don't have Himalaya pink sea salt. I'm like, the trace minerals and electrolytes in Himalayan sea salt is so small that like just put some damn salt on your food. Like,
Yeah,
I get if you're only eating pizza and McDonald's every day, you don't need sodium, right? But like the average works and it works out, is athletic, that eats well, that moves, they need sodium.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Pet peeve. Just like all that stuff is a pet peeve of mine. It's like debunking these concepts.
Yeah, or these companies' products. I
Yeah.
mean, not gonna lie, I've had Prime on course a couple times, and it does have high levels of potassium, and I do like to drink
Yeah.
coconut water, which has a lot of potassium, mostly.
Sodium's nothing though.
Yeah,
Like
no,
50
everything else in
milligrams.
yeah, everything else in Prime is not even at a level that's going to help you. But potassium wise, I mean, it could help with some cramps a little bit, but
Yeah. You could
you know,
superset it with some of your salt tablets
yeah,
if you want, like a shot of
yeah,
prime here and there.
yeah. But the message to the people out there, don't use Prime as your main hydration
No.
source because it's not going to work
I mean,
at all.
I don't know about you, Christian, but I use raw nutrition and it works really well. So
Same here, buddy. Raw and revive.
right, right. No, and I will say this. So, and this is again, I'm not gonna if I don't like it, I won't drink it. But like I use Tailwind, and Tailwind was too bland. I thought it had a chalky, if you like a very bland tasting electrolyte drink with more of a chalky taste, but it's not very sweet, then Tailwind works great for you. But the orange raw tastes more like a orange Gatorade, right? It
Yeah.
has, and if you want to dilute it, put a little bit more water, but it has more of that like, I think it's tastier, and for me, I like it more than I would Tailwind because it's too chalky for me. Kind of like when you have a vegan bar and over like a whey bar, like the whey has this like whey taste, and like a vegan bar, it does the job and it works, but it's got that like earthy taste to it. That's how my brain works. Like, do I want a core power? Or do I want like some vegan drink? I'm like, they both
Yeah.
are protein and they both have a decent amino acid breakdown, but I don't like that one. So
Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, I've always been a fan of Tailwind, and I mean, I switched to using G1M for a little bit,
that's
which
very
yeah.
similar to Tailwind, the taste.
So well, G1M is cluster dextrin, and it's super thick. It's very hard to mix up, but
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't shake well. Yeah.
yeah,
Tailwind does mix well. I'll give it that for sure.
yeah. But the cluster dextrin is like a long breakdown carb. And G1M just never, the flavor never really did it for me. I felt like it was kind of hit and miss on the stomach because it was super acidic. Then Raw Fuel came out beginning of this year. And I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't really like it that much when I was first using it, and
Did you
that's
find it
comparing
too
it.
sweet?
So the mixability isn't as good as Tailwind, but I'll tell you why. Anyway, and the flavor is very strong. I don't like the lemon lime or that the second flavor they have. It's acidic, kind of just like G1M is, but the orange is my favorite. But it's almost the same formula as Tailwind, but it has a third carb source, which is maltodextrin. So that's why it's a little chunkier when you mix it up. And that's why Tailwind mixes up pretty easy because it's got what is it? Um, I forget. I'm drawing a blank right now on the
No,
two
that's
sugar
okay.
sources, but yeah, I mean it mixes up super easy. Um, Tailwind is a lighter flavor, not as intense. Raw is very intense, especially when you mix up 5, 6 scoops in a freaking bottle on your bike. Like I had
That's
20 scoops.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's just like that's
dude,
where I
it's
would
just
say like, could you like for me, I would like, can I do two Tailwind and two Raw? Right? Because I
yeah,
like having flavor and not that chalky taste, but I feel like if you combine them, you could get away with probably potentially less of that
yeah.
really potent sweetness.
Oh yeah. It's super. I think if they took down the flavor profile just a smidge, like it would be a lot better. But it's good. I mean, I've used it at every race this year, and it's done well for me. I think it actually overall performance wise does a little better than Tailwind. But yeah, the flavor profile is quite a bit heavier.
You know what is interesting too is when one thing I want to say last thing with this is that when I was talking to my buddy and my brain for some reason wasn't thinking. I did a bachelor's in exercise science. I did the nutrition stuff. I've done the math. Like I've done all this schooling, all this education. I've been doing this for a decade, but my brain kept forgetting that like how the importance of like, especially morning of or day before, like you store a lot of your glycogen in your, oh, you store glucose as glycogen, right? But you store most of that in your muscle, and like fructose is more stored in like the liver. So it's like having a combination of like carbohydrates. It's like fructose and glucose, so you can
Yeah,
maximize glycogen storage like in your liver and also and in your muscle stores. So it was interesting because that was like something I was forgetting as much too, of like balancing like having fruits, and if you want to have orange juice just to get carbohydrates up or whatever it is, but having that balance will like truly maximize like your carbohydrate and glycogen storage to like use it as best you can for your race.
yeah, yeah, 100%. And,
So
and even the day before a race, I'll have a jug mixed up with a bunch of scoops of carbohydrate powder just to
yeah,
easily load up throughout the day while I'm eating a bunch of other carbs and stuff like that.
yeah.
Um,
And those drinks have like a balance in it, like you were saying, it's like different types of carbohydrates in it, which is super cool. Um, yeah, dude. No, I'm excited. I think it's gonna be definitely the most fun I've had in a long time. I mean, I think it'll be way better than last year for me. Not even like performance wise per se. Like the goal is yes, but I'm excited to get down there and just a year of training in the making, basically. Because me, I only raced one other race this year, and it was the Spartan Ultra, and then like a small race. So
Yeah,
really, all my time and energy has been going into this. So
there you
it's
go.
game time.
I know, man. It's coming up quick. Hopefully the weather's decent too. I've been looking at, I mean, you can never trust weather predictions for worlds, but we are a little bit more southern in the hemisphere this year. And yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be another warm year.
I'm okay. Again, I'm okay with a little warm. For my wife, I hope it doesn't pour. That's
Yeah, I know. If we have a hurricane come in, man, that's
She
yeah,
would
that's
be
gonna be a game
so
changer.
miserable. I'd be like, "Hon, just go to the truck." My other friend Kat, the one that just did this race, she's flying out. She just bought her plane ticket. I'm like, Kat will help me just until it calms down. Just sit in the truck, do whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
She doesn't like being wet. She's a low maintenance wife with high maintenance hair. And she'll admit, like, doesn't
That's
need to make
hilarious.
up. What?
That's hilarious.
So she doesn't
It
wear
makes
makeup,
sense.
doesn't wear makeup. She can go out in shorts and a t-shirt. She doesn't get dialed up to go anywhere. But like she gets her hair done every 6 weeks. She like doesn't like it getting wet. We went to Hawaii, it didn't get wet. Like she just her hair is her thing. So um like I always laugh when a downpours, like, and she knows, like, I joke around with her about it, but like it's just that's her thing. It's just funny. Because I'm going, she high maintenance. I'm like, no, not at all. But when it comes to her hair, yes, that's the only thing in her life that is she wears cool like curlers at night, that these like old school like curl thing, so it curls it. We joke around, and again, she won't care I say this, but she's like, I'm like Night Queen, because she's got this like big thing on that like curls her hair.
Dude,
Um,
that's so funny.
yeah, yeah. So that's her thing. So that's why I don't want it to rain. It could be warm, cold, whatever. Just don't rain on my wife's hair, please.
No, no, all power to your wife. She's gonna have the best
Yes,
looking hair on course.
she 100% will. It'll be curled up, and ready to roll. So, but
Nice.
it'll be good, dude. I'm excited.
Heck
Last thing I'll
yeah.
say, and then we can close this up is oh, what did I want to say? I had a nice ending to this. How I wanted to do it, but it's okay. I'm just excited, and it'll be good. Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? Actually, this is off topic, but I think it'd be fun to do is I'm doing it with Grant, I think, unless something changes, but I'm gonna do like a cool Facebook Live, like at the course, like the day before, and just like walk around. If I have connection, worst case,
Yeah.
I'll like record and then walk around the course and just like briefly like, yo, Christian, what's up, dude? How we feeling? And then like next person, yo, how we doing? And like just walk
Yeah.
around for like half hour, just trying to like talk to people. I think that'll be fun.
Yeah. Heck yeah, man. When are you getting in? On Thursday?
Thursday, my flight, I straight flight, JetBlue, straight down like 3.5 hours. My flight's at 7 a.m. I'll be there by like 10:30.
Okay.
ten thirty, and
I'll
then
be over there Tuesday. I'm getting there early this year. I
damn.
want to get, yeah, I want to get a little acclimated to humidity because where I live it's hot, but we don't have any humidity.
See, I'm
So
less hot, but I do have humidity. It's weird. It's
yeah.
cool right now, but like all summer it was like 85 with 87% humidity. It was just crazy.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
But it like 70,
Uh,
80%, just so it was like you get back and you're like downing 24 ounces right away of just electrolytes because you're just pouring sweat.
yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. You got to find some steam rooms, get some good steam rooms.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
But yeah, yeah. So get down there on Thursday. Go to the grocery store, go pick up like a reusable, because I'm flying out. So
Yeah.
go get a reusable, like cheap cooler just to put some stuff in, like one of those cheap ones. Because I'm gonna pretty much donate or throw away half the shit, which is the sad part when because I'm flying home.
Yeah.
Pick up some of those cheap, like 7 to 10, like I think it was like 6.99 for those little chairs.
Oh
Pick
yeah, those super cheap ones.
at
Those yeah,
Walmart.
those
Yeah, pick
yeah.
those bad boys up, and I can use those. I last year my wife's like, she goes, the one thing she's like, last year you come in, you sit down in a chair. I only went to the pit twice, but I went into the pit, I sat in a chair for a split second, I got it wet. Came back out, I sat in a different chair, got it wet. So she's like, the three of the chairs that we had, two of them were soaked the entire time. So we got to make sure you have your own chair if you go in. And I'm like, hon, unless I'm going into a wetsuit, I'm not going in.
Yeah.
Um, like I don't plan on going into a wetsuit. That's my goal, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think you'll be all right. I mean, everybody's obviously a little different on race strategy and how fast you're going to be moving. But it's like it's a risk, you know. If you feel like you want to be a little bit more comfortable, but it's still hot and you put a wetsuit on, you could shoot yourself in the foot and you're done. You're gonna sweat everything out, which I see people do all the time.
Yeah. People changed in
But
really early last year, like really early.
oh, dude, the sun wasn't even down yet, and people were in a full wetsuit. I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I literally want to say your race is over. Like, unless you take that off when you get back to the pit, you're done. Like, your
It's the
race is
fear
done.
though. It's that fear of like, I need to be in a wetsuit. Like everyone said, it's gonna get cold. Like I need to be in a wetsuit. And I get
Yeah.
it if you're walking the whole time. Like
Yeah.
earlier, like getting into it earlier, if like put the sun's down, it's cold. But like if you're on and off jogging, your body temp stays pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a light jog consistently will keep you pretty warm. Even though you get in the water, you're going to get cold, you're going to have that shock. You just continuously move with some effort, your body's going to stay warm. I mean,
Yeah.
trust me, I didn't wear, I didn't change at all last year. I put on a windbreaker and that's it. That's the only thing I ever put on other than what I was wearing when I started.
Yeah, I
And
did do
I mean,
a somewhat small wetsuit, but um yeah, I think I hit that spot where I was teetering. Do I do it and take an extra 10 minutes to put it on, 15 minutes just to get it on? Um and I think I was in that headspace too of like the fear. And you know what? Actually, the one positive besides being warmer, my knees didn't get wrecked nearly as much. Like from
yeah.
crawling and stuff like that. It was kind of nice having that just to roll over stuff and not get ripped up.
Yeah, that is a nice thing about a wetsuit, but that's why I like to wear the long tights every
Yeah.
year just to save your knees early on, you know. I mean,
You start in
everything's going
shorts
to be
though and stuff.
no, the past 3 years I've been in long tights. I wear the CWX tights,
Okay.
um, which they're pretty good. They make like a thermal one and then a regular one. So I'll typically wear the thermal, even though it's gonna be a little hot up front. It's gonna help a little bit throughout the night.
Just hydrate
Wear
before.
that, yeah, wear that, and then just a skin tight top, and I mean that's it. Just go, and then throw a windbreaker on overnight.
Yeah. Makes sense. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, if you want to hit 100 or more realistically, unless you're just completely very like efficient and your lap times are incredible, you have to do under 2 minutes every, you know, before each lap. So your pit time can only be 2 minutes max.
Well, it's over just slightly over 15-minute miles to hit 100 for a day.
Yeah. Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was
But
doing the math. I think if you wanted 50, without the extra bonus time of like hour and a half, I think it was 20-minute miles, give or like almost right there. And then if you wanted 75, it was like those 17 and some change miles, unless you have
mhm,
bonus time. And then I think the 100 was right around like a little over 15-minute miles, maybe 16 with like the bonus time.
yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
freaking crazy.
I definitely used some bonus time last year, I'll tell you that.
I haven't
I went
been
like
in.
tw 25 hours and like 14 minutes, but
You got there.
yeah, yeah, I know my last few laps were pretty slow. I think they were like an hour 15, hour 10, hour 15, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
But
your slow miles were my fast miles. So it was funny. Like I think I had a lap that I walked the whole thing. A couple laps, I literally walked the whole course because I was just like, what am I getting myself into? And it was like 2 hours and 15-minute lap, it was something like that. And
yeah.
I come around, they're like, we were waiting for like 40 minutes for you up here. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. Like it was the lap. I'll never forget the lap. Stupid one, dude. The Where you like shimmy across here. I didn't miss it once, but when it got muddy, my hand slipped off it. Little wood
Uh,
sideways.
yeah, yeah.
I just lost my grip on it. And then I did the penalty loop, and then I did it twice. I just got tired and I went right back into the penalty area and I got too deep before I like processed what was happening. So I did that loop twice and I was so angry. And then I got to the swing and you had to grab the banana and I missed the banana. And I
Oh,
was like,
that one
shit,
was rough, man.
shit. That was a decent penalty loop.
Yeah, that's where you had to go find the nickel and the
Yeah,
bucket of coins. It's
yeah.
like they had the most random. I remember running through some of those penalties, bro, and you're out in the dark. It's just and nobody's around. Then all of a sudden there's just some volunteers sitting in the dark in a chair, and he's like, "All right, you got to pound this stake into a hole or into the ground and then dig it out, or you got to find a nickel in this whole freaking jug of coins."
You're
It's the
like,
funniest thing because you're like, where the fuck am I right now? Like, what's going on?
like this is a dream. The thing that got me, and I again, if you did this, I'm more than happy for you. Like, but I'm gonna shit on you a little bit if you did this.
All right.
Okay, the people that wanted a little fucking patch to sew on, and in the middle of the course, you had to bury your hands in ice water and solve like a puzzle or something. Build a like you had to, I don't. Did you see that? So
No.
so it was a bonus obstacle. They go, you were just you were zoned in. But I'm going by and they're like, I remember saying if you wanted a patch, world's toughest mudder, like bonus patch, you had to dump your hands for 30 seconds or 15 seconds into ice water, take them out and build a Lego. And I was like, we're in the middle of a goddamn race. I'm not putting my hand into ice water for a Lego and a patch. I'm like, are you out of your mind? I'm like, I'll go buy the patch for $20 before I do this.
Yeah.
So it was just
Some
funny because I'm like,
side quests.
I'm watching people do it. And I'm like, I'm gonna go buy the patch, guys. Like, I'm gonna keep on trucking. Like, um,
Yeah.
it was just funny because it was like a way for for someone to like challenge themselves in something random. But I saw the obstacle or like grab the egg and grab the log and do a lap, that thing, and
Oh yeah.
on
I
top
know.
the egg.
They had all these freaking side quests type of
Yeah.
things.
So just don't fail the obstacle. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, which is tough, man. God, I remember running with Austin Azar. We were like side by side. He was moving good last year. That dude, man, his obstacle efficiency was wild. He did like three penalties the whole race, the
That's
entire
insane,
race.
insane grip strength.
Yeah, yeah, he's a beast, man. I remember afterwards, I was like, damn you, dude. Like I was right there with you too. And I think I ended up doing like 10 penalties total the whole race, somewhere right around there.
I had
And
I did 60 miles on the course and I think I had 66.7 miles total.
yeah, so you probably didn't do too many
I
either.
did
Because
like just under 7 miles in penalties.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I think I had 104 miles on my watch,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. Yeah.
The only
Yeah.
ones I failed is the you had to rope yourself up and then swing to the monkey bars and then come down.
Oh, dude, that got so tough so quick.
I
Like, and
I
then you
I
had
got to
it
the
was like a
point I
quarter
just went
mile.
right. I jumped in the water and went to the fucking penalty. I just didn't.
Yeah. I know I was
Um,
doing that too, and I'm like, I don't really want to put in more mileage, but I feel
it's
like
so
just
exhausting.
for just for the sake of saving my body right now, it's like go run a extra quarter mile.
Yep, the banana one I failed a couple times. I just slipped, couldn't grab it. I never failed the boardwalk, the balance beam. I would just run and then jump that sucker. I would like, I get
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
halfway and then just go for it.
So you know
Um,
what people were doing on that? I guess I didn't even think about this. I mean, not that I really cared to do it, but for other people that were moving a little slower or running with somebody, since you can help people on course, you can have somebody get in the water and hold your hand as you walk
that's
across.
bullshit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, because you can help people over obstacles and whatever. I mean, that's somebody
Well,
was telling me that they were doing that, and I was like, huh, I didn't even think about that.
yeah, I get the team side of it, but there's some things I'm like, come on, man. Like that one's not like I get if you're just not strong enough. That one I'm like, you can just try. Just try.
Yeah. How'd you do with
Yeah.
the what was it? What they call it, grappler? The one where we threw the ball up through the
I didn't
slats?
miss it once. I was
Yeah.
that penalty loop was the death of everybody. I didn't miss
Dude,
it once.
I didn't have to do it once. I was like, thank God. I got the Well, the day before, this is why it's always important for you guys to go do the hot lap the day before. Like you can cut through the course, whatever, you don't have to run it, but just to see the obstacles and try them out if they are open. That was the important thing because I remember the day before they showed us exactly how to do that obstacle and I practiced. Dude, landed it like every time. There was a couple of times where I had to do it like two, three times to get it, but I didn't have any issue. Never had to do that penalty.
Yeah, it's huge. It was huge. That was huge. I was proud the ratchet strap cargo net, like the one with
Oh, bro.
I got that every time too. That was
Yeah,
again. But you know
I
what?
did
The only reason
so hard.
I bought neoprene gloves, like diving gloves. I wouldn't have got that one, and I wouldn't have got all the rope on your shimmy across because my hands were beat. And those gloves, I didn't have to worry at all about grip. It was just upper body strength, which I had plenty of. But a lot of the stuff, like it just burns your hands so bad, you're just teetering and letting go.
Oh
That was
yeah.
huge for me having the gloves at that time in that on certain laps.
Yeah, those two, man, especially since they were just about damn back to back, I
They
think.
are. They were literally back to back, I think.
Yeah, dude, like I remember getting across those and trying every little bit of energy and ounce of life I had in me just to not fall because I'd be fine. I get about three-quarters of the way across. I'm like, I'm good. And then my upper body would just literally like say no more. And
Yeah.
I'm just freaking struggling, trying to like hold on with fingertips but the rope one where you're sliding yourself across, man, it's dude, that gets
Because the thing in the
brutal.
middle, my legs would disconnect and then I'd like
Oh
almost
yeah.
fall off. My feet had to
Yeah,
come back up.
it's
And then I was in shorts for the first bit and my socks weren't super long. So I was dragging it on my shoes because I was
burning.
so nervous. Yeah. I literally burnt my shoe, like rubber off it because I was
Yeah.
dragging it on it. Um,
That's it. Okay, that is like one of the main reasons to wear long tights is obstacles like that because yeah, I mean you can just burn your legs the first time going through that and you're like, "Oh, 24 more hours of
yeah, like
frying my
at least
freaking skin
15
off."
times I'm gonna do this again. Like, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was trying to think if there's any other stuff that was like super difficult for me. Um, I think it was like some of the dumbest ones were the ones. I mean, that again, that rope one was tough, but I don't even remember all the other obstacles. I didn't miss the wall, like I didn't miss all that kind of stuff. All that was not bad. Um, but for the most, it was interesting. Like there were certain points where like there was certain, I think the water got pretty high when we were going underneath, and the mop would hit me in the face, and I choke on some water, and I'm like, what the frick, dude? I'm drinking this. I don't even want to know what this water is, and went down and the one with the mist or the shit coming out that got really deep. Like they were pumping it at one point where I'm like, this is like really like I can't breathe in this place.
Oh, is that the coach's
Coach's
corner?
corner, yeah,
Yeah, dude, that was sweet.
yeah, yeah.
Like I was so excited to have that out there because you're on a point of the course where it's just super dark and it's kind of quiet, and then you hit this
You're just
little
coming out of
mountain
the
top.
water multiple times and crawling underground and all that.
Yeah, yeah, and then all of a sudden it's just like this rave going on in this little structure that you're crawling over things, and
And
yeah,
they
it was
had,
cool.
and every lap for 3 or 4 laps, they had espresso shots there.
I never had one.
Bro, I got one every time. I
Oh
was,
God.
I was, hit a point in the night. I get back. I'm like, tell my wife, she's like, you look like you're in way better shape than you were. I'm like, hon, they had music blasting and they had espresso shots. I'm like, I had 2 espresso shots. Like
Like I'm
in every
jazzed
lap,
up.
I'm like, I didn't care about, you don't give a shit about caffeine and hydrate. At that point, you're just like, I want to get back to coach's corner because I want an espresso shot.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That was something good they had. I think he's coming back this year. I need to text him and see, but it would be good to have him out there.
yeah.
Oh,
Well,
let's
man,
uh can we
go ahead.
briefly bring up something real quick?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So thoughts on okay, a couple things with this year's event. We got a regular Tough Mudder going on the same time we're racing, right?
No,
It's
no.
going to be right before.
Starts at 9 a.m.
but I thought we had an earlier start this year,
1 p.m.
1 p.m.
They
Okay.
moved it back an hour.
Okay. Yeah, because the time changes overnight during the race.
Right, right.
Yeah,
But it
which is
starts
which
at
is
1 p.m. That's what it did last year. It did
time.
because 100% last year, I remember it switched in the middle of the night. So the darkness felt like extra long in the morning because like it really hit 7, but it was like an hour late, like a different
Did it? Are you sure? I thought it was the
100%.
weekend because it was. I thought Worlds was the weekend after
And
last year.
I'm almost positive. When was time change in 2023? November 5th, Sunday. Yeah, because the race was the 4th. Started the 4th, November 5th. It switched right over at 2 a.m. Sunday, November 5th. So we were racing, and then at 2 a.m., 12 hours in is when it flipped.
Was the race that early last year?
12 o'clock. Yeah, noon to noon. But most people finished at well, I'm sorry. It's noon. Yeah, noon, but it started earlier, right? Because it started at 11 because of the time change. That's what it was. It was 11 to 11
Uh,
because of the time change.
yeah.
Because we finished, that's what it was. And this year, it's 1 o'clock. The first race starts at 9 a.m. and then it's going to go. And once it finishes, they should all be off the course at that point. But the course will have a lap underneath its belt at that point. And then they're not opening up from what I've read. And I mean, you might know because you're with Tough, but far as I know, everything I've read, the handful of the obstacles won't be available to them. They're only for world's toughest, but they'll get an idea
Yeah.
of what a normal course.
Yeah. Yeah. I talked to Giles a little bit about it, but it's been a while. So
Yeah,
I wonder if they
1 o'clock start time, because it's in Florida. So 1 to 1, technically 1 to 2:30 if you're running the full extra hour and a half. So it'll give us like basically they have 4 hours to get everybody off the course, or like if they're on it, it'll be like when we're basically done. But they're
yeah.
basically done when we start.
Okay. Yeah. That'll be a little different. I know a lot of people weren't too happy about it, but I thought, hey, it's cool to positive for the business side is to have these people that are going out there to do a regular event to see what something massive like this
Yeah.
massive event looks like.
I was in both. I was in both camps. I was in the aspect that I like that it's like its own entity in the morning, that like everybody, the camp's easy to find, the entrance, not too chaotic, parking's more controlled. Like, you have like everybody there is for that event. It's like a different camaraderie. But I do think like there's something cool about like if you ever played in a sporting event when the stadium's full before a race starts, or like a stadium's
Yeah.
full for a game. I think you'll have more of that vibe where there's hundreds and hundreds of people getting ready to watch you start, which will bring more of the energy at the beginning. But I think it
Yeah.
will be a little more chaotic potentially getting to the event, parking, lugging your stuff. Everyone there isn't racing, so it's a different like it's not like everybody you talk to is racing the event. It's a little different.
Yeah.
It'll be a different
Yeah.
vibe, but I don't think it'll be bad by any means. I think and the course, like, I guess how beat up can the course get in one lap?
Yeah. True. One other thing, I should know this, but I literally just remembered when are they doing pit spot selection?
Three, is it 4 weeks out or 3 weeks out? I think it's
I think it
I think it's 4 weeks out. I think it's 4 weeks out elites, 3 weeks out contender, 2 weeks out open.
okay.
I
That's something I
think.
always
I
forget
think
about,
it's
but
yeah,
I
they go
just
in week
remember it. I'm
weekly.
like, oh wait, I haven't even picked a pit spot yet.
Yeah. So we're 44 days out recording this. So I think that's the order. I think you have a week between each. I think it's 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and then the week, then you have like the normal week of coming up.
Yeah.
Because I was actually looking up last year's like standings, and I was like just comparing, like obviously different people are gonna come, but I was just comparing what place I placed. I was like, oh, second in open, 10th in my age group. If I hit my mileage goal this year, I would have podied. I would have. So Do you know this actually? So if let's say I'm open, because I'm running open because I didn't do any Tough Mudders this year. If like last year, first, second, and third were in my age group in the whole event.
Mm, yeah.
So now do they take them out and that's their one, two, three, and they get their own thing, and then four, five, and six would get their aging in place group or age group, like a separate age group.
So technically, yes, but I've seen Tough Mudder not take them out and also give
Interesting.
them age group. So I don't really have an answer on that
I'm
one as
curious
far as,
because Spartan, now that they like own them per se, or whatever you want to say,
yeah.
Spartan, that was the rule that Spartan implemented into their world. And I think they initially were going to run that for Tough Mudder too. But then now Spartan's going back to something different next year.
Hmm.
So yeah, I was curious because I was like, oh, if that's the case, like I technically with a new mileage goal would podium, but do I feel like I actually podiumed if they eliminated the top three guys in my age group?
Yeah, I see both sides to it, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, you got guys that are winning overall one, two, and three. I mean, you think of Ironman, right? Like there's age group, there's one, two, three in age group, and then there's one, two, three overall.
Yeah.
You're either one or the other, right? So, yeah, I think that seems to be most fair. Like I've taken, what have I been in fifth place the past 3 years in a row, but first place age group. Um,
Yeah. It'll be interesting.
yeah.
You
What
don't
age
usually
group are you
show.
in?
What? I'm
What age
34,
group
34, so 30 to
do?
35. 30 to
Is that what
34.
they?
I'm sorry, 30 to 34. Next year I go to 35.
Okay.
Well, actually, if I did, I would still be in 34 actually if I did my birthday's in August, so I would still be in 34 if I did uh London or England.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah. But you
Yeah.
should be good.
Yeah.
Anything
Well,
else
well, I'm
top of your
getting.
head before we jump off? And I'm gonna go
No,
get a workout in and take the
no.
dogs out
I know
quick.
we've been on here for like 2 hours now. So
I mean, if you think about it, I don't know how you are. I listen if people enjoy it and like it's a good flow going. I listen to like 3 hour Rogan podcasts all the time and
yeah,
just continue. Or like I just listened to Theo Vaughn with Mark Cuban for shits and giggles. Theo,
yeah,
I mean, it's funny. Like I just can let it fly every time I get in the car. So um, I think
yeah.
it's
It's always good to have some background noise that lasts for a while.
and I don't know if you saw this, like I made a post on the World's Toughest page and some random dude, sorry if I don't remember or know you, but like I didn't know his profile, wasn't friends with him. And he was like, hey man, you should do a podcast to like hype people up. And I was like, okay. So,
Okay.
so I'm gonna post this in the page and be like, here you go. Go listen to me
Yeah.
and Christian talk for 2 hours.
Hopefully this hypes you up.
Yeah. Well, mentally tough now. You're gonna be a savage. And then you're gonna have good hydration and good carbohydrates and you're going to be ready to go and hopefully you didn't start running last week and you'll have a good time.
Yeah.
So,
Oh man, yeah. That's all the beauty of worlds.
yep. Well, all right, brother. We'll keep chatting and if you want to stay on for 1 sec when I jump off, that's fine. And then
Yeah.
well, I'll let you know. We'll get this thing posted and then 44 days away, dude.
Yeah. Good luck to all you guys listening that are running this race. It's gonna be a good one. Life
Come
changing
find
for
us.
sure.
Come find us and
Yeah.
say what's up.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. We will be out there. If you're running the race or you're pitting or helping out, whatever, make sure you guys go to all the extracurricular activities, go to the Thursday night dinner, go to the hot lap, go to the awards the day after. It's all part of the enjoyment of the weekend. So make sure you guys get around the community and get to talk to each other and meet some new people.
be fun, dude. I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So till next time, keep being a beast, chase discomfort. I'll see you guys next time.